Welcome back, everyone,
We're back.
to who knows what's going on now.
A whole bunch of plates lined the table in our cabin today. A red plate with thinly sliced ham. A basket with bite-sized pieces of French bread. Steam billowed from the yellow cazuela plate. It was filled with sautéed eggplants, tomatoes, carrots, and had a soft-boiled egg for topping. The plate with lamb steak had a garnish of fried potatoes and cabbage. In the middle of the table rested a plate packed with chicken paella. And finally, at the side, I spotted the salt-grilled char we received earlier today.
I was going for a somewhat Spanish dinner tonight.
Nanai pulled my chair back, gesturing for me to sit down.
My accent is different now. Now we're going for the more British accent.
That's okay, it happens to the best of us. At my side of the table, there were silver tableware and a neatly folded napkin adorned with a checked pattern, just like yesterday. Did you make everything?
No, I just grilled the fish and made the paella. Paella? Paella?
Mm-hmm.
Paella? The rest was done by my auntie.
Noticing the bottles of white and red wine on the table, Nanai picked them up in both hands. I told her I didn't need a whole bottle for myself. I spotted 2 other glasses at the other end of the table, one near the window, the other near the corridor. I wonder if that's for the person I saw at the counter in the library.
Yup, that's her.
Nanai checked the labels on each bottle of wine, then lifted both bottles.
And which would you prefer?
The white wine was in her right hand, the red in her left.
We've got some sparkling wine too, if that's what you like.
I wasn't too particular about wines, so I ended up picking red on a whim. Nanai nodded and placed the bottle of white wine on the table. I grabbed one of the mini breads and broke it up into 2 pieces. It was still warm inside. I placed a slice of ham on it and put it in my mouth. Did your aunt say anything?
Just to tell you hello.
I see. I placed a new slice of ham on the other piece before popping it into my mouth.
The bread is pretty good, isn't it?
I nodded with my mouth full.
We import the dough directly from Spain.
It has a very fragrant smell.
Auntie used to live in Spain for a while, and sometimes she gets all nostalgic about those days, and that's when I get treated to some delicious bread and ham.
Oh, so is this supposed to be like jamón serrano?
Probably.
Did you know there are people who have a full-time job specifically being a ham sniffer to ensure that the jamón serrano is correct?
I did not.
Now you know. There's an article about it. It's apparently a tough job, especially around holiday time of year.
I imagine so. I can't imagine what working a job that is like because my nose doesn't work.
I'd get very sick of ham. I would never want to eat ham.
I already don't want to eat ham.
I already don't want to eat ham
I was
too,
gonna say,
but
I
I'd
don't want to eat
not.
ham already. I'm vegetarian. mostly. I don't think I can fairly call myself vegan.
Mostly,
Like,
kinda.
yeah, but the char is going to be quite delicious as well.
The grilled fish rested on a Japanese-style plate.
Ingredients straight from the farm. I almost feel like... Oh, that's you.
Ingredients straight from the farm. I almost feel like I'm at some sort of fair.
Beats the stuff over the department store, that's for sure. Oh, no, never mind. We had it right. Why does she...
Maybe not. I picked up my chopsticks and took a piece from the fish's stomach area. The tender yet crispy piece melted in my mouth. It's good.
Let me check that.
Nanai took a piece of the white flesh for herself and put it in her mouth.
Oh my.
She slowly chewed it for a few seconds before gulping it down.
That's hot as hell. But pretty nicely done otherwise.
Do you happen to have a sensitive tongue?
I wouldn't go that far, no.
Nanai let out another laugh. Her smile seemed a little wooden.
I've just got to make sure that they know I'm grateful for the gift.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
I've got to make sure they know I'm grateful.
I think
for
we
the
have
gift.
been mixing it up, yeah.
I don't think so.
I'll thank the kids next time I run into them.
I saw something interesting too. Wait. Yeah.
You're actually a closet sadist, aren't you, Sachiko?
I'd like to thank your aunt for the delicious meal.
Oh, she would definitely love that, but I think she's already gone to bed. Maybe some other time. Trying to keep her from meeting her aunt and realizing that her aunt is the person that she thinks Nanai is.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why they look similar, because they're related, right? But if this is indeed several decades in the future, I bet she's projecting who she expects Nanai to be, the person that she met in Rome, whether or not that happened, right? But
interesting.
Keep wandering around the place and you'll eventually run into her, I'm sure.
Is the person at the library not meant to be her aunt? I wonder who the person at the library is meant to be at the desk. I crumpled down into the chair, heaving a tired breath. A woman with long, dark hair gazed back at me from the mirror with jet black eyes. Her cheeks were flushed red, her eyelids heavy from drowsiness. The woman's dark, flowing locks fell onto the white towel resting on her shoulders. Maybe I should cut it shorter. The night breeze lightly stirred the curtains, sending a drop of water from my hair to my exposed thigh. I reached out to pick up a comb. After lightly dipping the comb in water with a few drops of flower oil added to it, I began combing my hair. A chilly breeze kept blowing inside through the open window. I could hear the knocking sound in the distance. Takako had a habit of curling my hair around her finger to smell it. It was a motion similar to kissing the hand of a princess. Both the tortoiseshell comb and this camellia oil were presents from her. She might have disappeared, but parts of her seemed to remain with me. The woman in
Once you go Takako, you never go Bakako.
The woman in the mirror made a puzzled expression. Look at that face. I turned off the hairdryer and placed it on the dresser. I stood up, took my pajamas out of the carrier bag, and got dressed. After circling around the bed and opening the cabinet, I found a light pink insect repellent tape in an otherwise empty drawer. Once I emptied the contents of my carrier bag onto the bed, I folded up my spare clothes and stuffed them inside the closet. As for my toiletries, I left them on the nightstand and in the bathroom. I returned the lighter carrier bag to the ground and, with nothing else to do, sat down on the bed.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for the part in Sachiko's story where we see some bit of technology that might offend a particular time period. Like, someone's going to come in with, like, a smartphone at some point or something. Because, our guess was that the original, the thing we saw with her working at Clover would have been late 90s, early aughts at the latest, right? But.
So, I'm imagining that Nanai just lets slip, like, oh, I saw this on Tumblr.
Right.
Sachiko's like, what's
probably
a Tumblr?
Something a little more tactful than that, but yeah.
The knocking sound I heard earlier did not melt into the night sky. Instead, it seemed to have been reverberating in a narrow space. I looked at the window to see curtains folded calmly beside it. The pale moon hung motionless in the dark sky. Knock, knock. I turned the knob adorned with a chrysanthemum carving and stepped outside. The branches of the oak tree cast dark, twisting patterns on the floor through the window. Click.
I'm like a ghost. Can't get rid of me.
Click. To my right, I spotted a girl that resembled Takako descending the stairs. I began following her, eventually breaking into a dash. Even knowing my loud footsteps could wake someone, I still wouldn't stop. I only halted up after circling down the spiral stairs that led to the lobby. Upon quickly surveying the area, I realized there was no one else around. Out of nowhere, I could have sworn I heard the front door close. I hurried to the door, turned the knob, and stepped outside. The lack of streetlights made it difficult to see.
Oh, hello there, Sachiko.
Startled, I turned toward the source of the abrupt voice and saw a person's silhouette emerge from the darkness.
What the fuck?
Makes sense. It's the Narasaki clinic, right?
Yeah, but also... What the fuck? So this is still a
Not
clinic,
necessarily. Y'all,
Or-
maybe. We don't know. What's she doing here? Maybe it's not, but she's just here to make sure that Sachiko's treatment gets started correctly here. This might be the equivalent of her moving into some kind of long-term care,
Okay.
is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
If we suspect that she's much older than what she seems to be, this might be the equivalent of her getting put into some kind of long-term care, a place where she can live in her older age, where not being able to form new memories won't be a impediment to her ability to live a happy life.
I see. It was Narasaki. The corners of her lips curled up as she drew closer to the light.
You ran all the way here just to greet me. I'm flattered, truly.
Narasaki? I looked her over from head to feet. Seriously, though, what are you doing here dressed like that? Oh, did we swap?
I think we swapped, yeah. Seriously though, what are you doing here? Dressed like that especially.
I was just... What about you? Why are you here?
I came here for a vacation, much like you. I was actually thinking of going up to your room right about now, so your timing was impeccable. If you're not busy, can I come over for a bit?
Sure.
In that case, let's hurry on. I'm kind of freezing out here, actually.
Narasaki made a brief smile and entered the mansion ahead of me.
So is this story, Narasaki is the last of these 3 childhood friends that is not psychologically destroyed or dead and is like trying to keep Sachiko's end of her life as not miserable as possible?
I think that might be it. I think Narasaki is trying to understands maybe that Sachiko can't form new memories.
And that there's nothing to be done.
And that there's nothing she can do about it other than try to make things as pleasant for Sachiko as she can.
Narasaki removed her coat and scarf as we entered my room. She placed them on the chair in front of the mirror.
Was she a childhood? She said she was, but we never saw scenes of her back in high school with them.
That's true. Then, as though having suddenly remembered something, she walked back to her coat and pulled a small box out of one of its pockets. She handed it to me.
I brought you something.
It was a tiny, white cardboard box that easily fit into my palm. I undid the cover to find 2 little bears inside, both with ribbons around them. It's a very cute present. One bear was white, wearing a frilly one-piece dress, while the other was brown and dressed in an apron.
Pretty nice craftsmanship, right? They have clips on their backs and magnets on the inside. You can basically use them to attach pieces of paper to a whiteboard.
So they're not just for decoration. After looking at the bears some more, I closed the lid. Thank you. I'll make sure to put them to good use in my office.
Yeah. See her reaction right there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's.
no.
I think we had. I think between us we got the read on this now. Oh no.
Yes, please
Because
do. Use
everyone's
them in your
subtle
office.
reactions to those particular moments, right?
Yep.
Yep. Always at those moments where it's like, oh, honey. I'm glad that you like it. You're actually quite fond of things like this, right?
I am, though I don't really buy them myself.
Thought so.
Narasaki made a satisfied smile.
It has been a long time since we last talked to each other, apparently.
I placed the box on the side table next to the bed. Are you thirsty?
Yeah, do you have any hot coffee in here?
Only if you're fine with instant.
I'll take what I can get.
I added coffee powder to the cup and filled it with boiling water. I returned, carrying 2 cups of steaming coffee, one for each of us.
Thank you.
I handed 1 cup to Narasaki and sat down on the side of the bed. The bed creaked under my weight.
I really should have come by train as well. I scraped the bottom of my car driving through these mountain roads. They sure were not built with modern cars in mind, let me tell you.
You came by car?
Yeah, I just came back from parking it at the place the old lady told me about.
Isn't this place, quite far from your clinic?
Yeah, the trip took around 5 hours, I would think. Portion of which I must have wasted getting lost on those damn roads. Considering most of them aren't even on any maps, they were a total pain to navigate.
The train brought me straight to the foot of this mountain.
Well, it's been ages since I've driven by car. And nothing beats blasting loud music with your windows open as you speed through the highway.
After drinking half her coffee in a single gulp, Narasaki once again leveled her gaze with
Let me tell you
mine.
about my favorite albums that came out, specifically in the decades after. Did I surprise you?
Yes.
It's been a while since I could take a long vacation. Originally, I planned to spend it in Hawaii or Guam, but I couldn't get this off my mind, so...
After finishing the rest of her coffee with a second gulp, she placed the empty cup on the dresser.
Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Wait. Oh, no, that was...
We had it right. Narasaki waved her hand like it was no big deal. We probably had it right. She then glanced toward the window, stood up, and walked closer to it.
Visual novel authors attribute your quotations challenge. Difficulty literally impossible. I've almost forgotten how much better you could see the stars out here in the country.
Joining her thumb and index fingers to form a pair of binoculars, Narasaki examined the sky.
How have you spent your time since coming here?
I've just been relaxing.
That's good. How do you feel?
Pretty well.
That is good to hear.
I think this place is somewhat similar to my childhood home. I've been remembering the past lately.
Yeah, that place was out in the countryside as well.
I took a walk in the woods today. It's been a while since I've set foot on real soil.
Right, because Sachiko knows that she's having trouble remembering parts of her memory. Right, because she's already cognizant of that part, but it's also preventing her from thinking that she might be forgetting much more than that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what you get for living in a so-called concrete jungle, I suppose. It felt almost as though I was transported into a different world.
Oh shit, is this an isekai?
Funny thing is...
Oh no, we're gonna get discoursed on Cohost.
Funny thing is, it's exactly this kind of stuff that used to be more familiar to me.
Yeah, I remember the 3 of us spending a lot of time playing by the river.
Narasaki gently narrowed her eyes.
I wasn't too into it though.
Well, I guess it was usually Takako who wanted to go on adventures.
Oh, Narasaki, I think this is Narasaki. Oh, whatever. She was the one who would always slip and fall in the river, or into a hole dug for sweet potatoes, or stumble on some random tree roots and fall face first on the ground.
I remember how we always had to explain to her parents what happened. One time we even had to carry her to the hospital. Narasaki covered her mouth with one hand, unable to contain a chuckle. Her shoulders trembled for a few moments as she giggled. She soon continued.
You jumped through that door like you were being chased. Did you see something again?
Why do you think that?
Well, where I'm from, it's not exactly normal to rush out of your house in the middle of the night.
I suppose you have a point. I tried to come up with an excuse, but couldn't think of anything. I saw Takako in the corridor earlier.
And you chased her outside?
Something like that.
Was it the first time you saw her around here?
Yes, but I also saw her just before leaving. I told her about that episode with Takako in the bath. After giving a detailed explanation about everything I did that evening, I briefly summarized my conversation with the hallucination. Narasaki asked a few questions and I answered. She was curious if there was anything, a physical object, that could have worked as a trigger to remind me of Takako. After thinking for a while, I told her that the rubber duck might have been it. Narasaki agreed. I decided not to tell her I had somehow booked this place for my vacation without my knowledge. After all, I might have simply forgotten it because of work, and it didn't seem directly related to Takako's situation. This is interesting because this... Oh, sorry, you were about to talk.
No, yeah, I'm wondering whether, like, maybe that's something she genuinely didn't forget and something they did for her.
That wasn't the angle I was thinking.
What's the angle you're thinking?
The angle I was thinking is, this kind of doesn't jive with the theory that this happens long after the events of the prologue, because that would be like she would have had to still form new memories up until the point of booking this stay. And remember stuff like, oh yeah, I saw Takako in the bath and all of these details about it right before coming here and so on.
Yeah.
And then still be here for a very long time or repeatedly and still have...
I'm guessing it's repeatedly. I'm guessing this is not the first time she has come here. My guess is, if our theory is right, that she's probably been in and out of it with various degrees of assistance from Narasaki. And her ability to not form memories probably wasn't fully set in until around that time we saw at the end of the prologue.
I see. So she was worsening over the course of the
That's
prologue.
what yes.
I see. Okay.
And that it wasn't quite to the extreme that because it's not an unreasonable thing that she might have still been able to function for a while up until that point. But now if she cannot form any new memories at all, then... Again, we could be completely off base with this, though. We're just
But it's fun to speculate.
It is. That's why we play games like this, because we like the speculation part of it. We like to take big swings here at 8PR.
Narasaki let out a long as I finished my explanation. When I last visited your clinic, you said you wanted to observe my progress for a while before going anywhere further. I asked her if we should start thinking about alternate treatment methods if my symptoms fail to subside, but she shook her head.
Maybe this isn't something that just goes away overnight because you regained your memories. I think we should observe it for a while longer.
Narasaki made a tired expression and stretched her arms, most likely exhausted from the long trip. I looked away and tried to remember Takako from earlier today. Then I thought about the Takako I saw in the bath. Narasaki said there might have been a physical object that made me see hallucinations of her. In that earlier case, it was most likely the rubber duck in the bath. But I'd never been to this inn before, at least not with Takako.
What makes it sadder is that it seems like even in her old age, the one thing she wants to do is remember her girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who she spent her adult life with.
Yeah.
Which is just heartbreakingly sad if that's the case. Like, get you a girl who gets amnesia and the one thing she can remember is how much she loved spending time with you.
Can the whole town function as a trigger? Maybe I saw her again because this place reminds me of our old home.
It's possible. Or maybe it's something that you brought with yourself.
I thought about my luggage for a moment, but I was pretty sure I didn't bring anything that used to belong to Takako. I gave up on continuing along that train of thought. I came all this way, but I suppose things aren't going to be that easy.
I've said this before, but people don't just get better overnight. The important part now is that you're physically healthy. By the way, you said you were curious about something when we last met. What was it?
Before she could pry further, I reminded Narasaki of what she said the last time I visited her clinic. Narasaki pointed at the clock next to the dresser.
That aside, don't you think it's gotten a little late? Shouldn't you be headed to bed?
I should, but then Takako came along, and now you're here. It'll be a while before I start feeling sleepy again. Narasaki's lips curled up into a smile. She then made a resigned expression. She placed her right hand on her chin like a detective from an old movie. After seeing that, I glanced at the clock again and changed my mind. Well, maybe it's okay. I don't feel like I could properly think about it even if you told me right now. Narasaki placed her hand on the table.
Good. I'll be here tomorrow as well. We can talk about it at any time, all right? There is no need to rush.
I glanced at the sky, finding its color somewhat peculiar. It seemed as though someone had spilled green and yellow dye onto an indigo canvas laden with stars. Only the round silver moon hung clear in the corner of the sky. I realized that Narasaki was looking at me through her finger binoculars. What?
Tell me what can be seen from here.
I gave her an apprehensive look, but she said it was just a little psychological test. Me? It looked as though Narasaki momentarily furrowed her brows. It was such a slight movement, I might have just imagined it, though.
I didn't tell you whose field of view I was talking about, but you picked mine. Seems like you are the kind of person that puts others above herself.
Thank you. I found it pretty simplistic for a test coming from a professional. Then again, maybe it lacked some punch precisely because it was meant for serious matters, not to be used as a party trick or as a piece of trivia in some variety show.
By the way, did you meet with that person you met in Italy?
Nanai, yes. Our conversation seemed to stop there. Realizing I was holding an empty coffee cup, I placed it on the side table. I went on a walk with her. We picked flowers and watched some children fish along the way.
That must have been quite fun.
Yes, Nanai smiled a lot. I'm sure she enjoyed it.
I was talking about you.
My lips curled up slightly as I recalled today's walk.
Second time she's done that. Answering for someone else rather than for herself.
That's right. Nanai kind of reminded me of Takako a little. Especially when I saw her talking to the children.
Oh, well, I hope that I can meet her as well.
As we finished discussing Nanai, Narasaki told me it was about time for her to go. She glanced at the cup in her hands. There was still some cold coffee left in it.
Listen, you don't need to rush your treatment. You need to slowly and meticulously unravel one entangled thread after another. Pulling on them with force will only make things worse. When there's a sudden and huge change in one's mental landscape, a reaction always follows, and it's rarely good for one's health. When you put a wild fish in an aquarium, they don't adjust well initially, right? It's also common to become sick after a strenuous diet. The Industrial Revolution caused countless problems for the environment, as well as peace and order in general. Capitalism apologist, Narasaki, alright. The sudden growth of capitalism can lead to financial and industrial capital merging, giving both to monopoly and capitalism.
The scale of the example was so out there, I only ended up feeling confused.
Exactly. Anyway, you already fixed your memory problems the other night, and that's what counts the most right now. You don't need to rush with trying to get rid of the hallucinations.
And the ringing in my ears.
Right, that too.
Nagasaki gave me a gentle look, seemingly trying to assure me that everything was fine. She tended to make this kind of face from time to time.
Oh, did she? Did she? All right.
They would always make me relax. I calmed down a little. Somewhere in my mind, I was hoping not to see any hallucinations here, so encountering Takako tonight must have upset me all the more as a result. I'm really glad you came.
Hearing you say that has already made the trip worth it.
Nagasaki finished her coffee, picked up her scarf, and left. After putting the cups away, I lay down on the bed. Turning my head to the side, I saw the night sky through the window. The moon shone brightly in the darkness, illuminating the tree leaves and the ornamental sheep figure near the window with its silvery light. As I closed my eyes, I felt like I was drifting along on the surface of the sea.
The ornamental sheep figure near the window, huh? Interesting.
Time for a wild sheep chase?
I wasn't actually thinking about Murakami. I was thinking about, what was her coworker with all the sheep figures?
Oh, yeah.
On her desk. Yeah.
Yeah. What's her name with all the sheep? Fumi?
Yeah. Huh?
Fumi?
Fumi, yeah. The one who I gave this voice. Which is kind of unfortunate because I like doing this one. Gives him a lot of character.
The fresh, salty air coming in from the open window must have been the cause of it. The furniture floated in the water. Before I knew it, my consciousness melted away and I found myself in a dream of the past.
Vacation time. Vacation time.
I could hear the flow of a river beside me. It was sometimes interrupted by the rocks in its stream knocking together.
The sky goes orange as the sun goes down.
Takako, walking a few steps in front of me on our way back from the rental store, was singing a tune. It wasn't exactly orange, though. It was more like that time during dusk, when you could barely make out the faces of people walking on the other side of the street.
Let's go home together with the crow.
I think you're forgetting the lyrics.
Huh?
It was an old song, long since banished to the cobwebbed corners of our minds. I was pretty sure I hadn't heard her sing it since kindergarten. She made another attempt.
Let's go home together with the crow.
It's still the same.
Huh?
She started mumbling again. Listening to her humming, I tried recalling how she used to sing that song. Takako kept shaking her shoulders in tune with the song, her ponytail dancing with every motion. She hadn't grown, the second tail hadn't grown in yet.
Never gonna give you up. I'll think of it eventually. The bells at the mountain temple ring. Dum bum 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 bum. Let's go home with our hands joined together. Let's go home along with the crow. Let's go home along with the crow.
I am now fixated on the idea that the reason she has one ponytail now and two later is because she hasn't hit the level threshold and evolved.
Just you wait. When I level up, I'm gonna have the best twin tails ever. Just feed me a couple of rare candies, all right?
Takako turned to me and smiled.
Yeah, that's how it went.
Walking ahead of me, she began her song again. I tried to join her in a small voice, as embarrassing as it was. The sky turns orange as the sun goes down. The bells at the mountain temple ring. Let's go home with our hands joined together. Let's go home along with the crows. I was glad it was actually dusk. Dusk, the time when it was too dark to see anyone's face. It was the time of day when one had to question who anyone was.
Another new color.
I slipped into the clothes I prepared for myself last night and left the room. Sunlight filtered in through the east-facing windows of the corridor. The window frames and the branches of the oak tree both cast a shadow on the red carpet. Good morning. Upon opening the door to the cafeteria, I noticed Nanai standing behind the counter. Was she always a Twin Tails?
No. Why does she look more like Takako now?
Concern.
Oh, that's alarming, actually.
Is she
That's
here?
alarming. I bet she is here. But I think this might be an indication that we can't trust how we're seeing her, which is something we've already been suspecting. Hold on one second. Let me just double check that against the record, because I have the last episode we recorded, like, where? Oh, whoops, I called that one the wrong thing.
Oh well.
That's fine. I'll rename that later.
Is that going to pick up in the sound?
I have no idea. If it does, I'll take it out. Yeah, her hair was down last time. I don't think so. I don't think it'll catch in the sound, but yeah, her hair has been down and now it's in Takako pigtails. That's alarming.
That said, she could also just have put her hair up. It could just be a coincidence that her hairstyle now looks exactly like Twin Tails Takako.
Oh gosh.
I don't know what level I'm supposed to be paying attention at.
I've started working on a new tone of voice.
Oh no. Oh no. She looked at me over her shoulder, her tied-up hair drifting across the air in sync with the motions of her head.
Good morning. Would you like something to eat?
Some bread and coffee, if possible.
Roger that.
I picked out the seat closest to direct sunlight. It was warm to the touch. Though I'd already heard them back when I was combing my hair in my room, the sound of chirping birds outside was even louder here. I glanced out the window and saw a group of Japanese white eyes assembled around a puddle of water. Surrounded by fallen leaves, it had accumulated below one of the oak's branches. Another bird jumped down from a taller branch and straight into the water. As I observed its little wings splashing around in the puddle, the fragrance of coffee reached my nose.
Are you not used to seeing white eyes?
Nanai placed a cup of coffee in front of me. It had a black exterior and a yellow interior. For a short while, I observed the little white bubbles above the black surface accumulating near the edge of the cup. Thank you. I'd often see them up in the trees back when I still lived in the countryside, but they're a rarer sight where I live now. Seeing them here made me a little nostalgic.
Well, they show up quite frequently around here.
Nanai sat down in front of me and picked up her cup, a streak of steam rising from the hot liquid. I could see her smile beyond that misty veil. She appeared excited. You seem to be in good spirits. Did something happen? I trailed my finger along the corner of my lips.
Yes. I learned how to make some extra special coffee from a cafe in town, and it turned out very well today. I call this the Gado Blend number 107.
Is it drip coffee?
Yes. It's a special way that minimizes the brewing time as well. I've learned to do a circular pour. Here, let me show you this James Hoffman video. Oh, shit. That's an anachronism.
But is the V60? Could the V60 have existed? I feel like I can't remember when the V60 was from originally. Nanai drew her cup to her upper lip, and after savoring the smell for a while, took a sip.
Yes, that's pretty good, if I do say so myself. I'd say mine can pretty much give that cafe a run for its money at this point.
Nanai took another sip, letting the corners of her lips curl up again. I grabbed my own cup, enjoying its warmth. The actual taste was a bit more bitter than what I usually preferred in coffee, but it was still pretty good.
You have to do the dripping at calculated intervals to make it strong. Like this.
She began twisting her right wrist in the air. You fucking called it. You fucking called it. Nanai is a pour-over coffee nerd. She has been haunting a cafe to watch their barista to pick up the barista's technique and steal the coffee recipe.
I've just been using this AeroPress all my life. What I've been missing out on. Immersion brewing is so overrated.
Is it now?
I don't know. It just felt like the way to go.
Meanwhile, she pushed the plate with little bottles of sugar and cream closer to me with her left hand. I picked up the cream bottle and added some to my coffee, making a white, marble-like pattern appear on the surface of the liquid. I stuck my spoon into it and stirred until it disappeared. As I observed Nanai's gestures, I spotted the girl from yesterday passing through the stone-laden path beyond the window. She had appeared from the east side of the building and soon disappeared beyond the west.
What are you looking at over there?
Nanai turned her head around to look at the garden. I was just spacing out.
Huh?
Nanai turned back to me and, slightly leaning her head forward, took another sip from her cup. I watched her twin tails flutter around her shoulders. She looked upward, her gaze meeting mine.
Does it look weird?
She traced a hand along her hair. No, I think it suits you.
You like twin tails. I can keep it like this tomorrow as well if you'd like.
Someone I know used to wear her hair like that.
Oh, I see.
You looked really similar to her from behind, so I got startled a bit. She finished the contents of her cup and placed it on the saucer with a barely audible clang. Nanai stared into the bottom of her cup for a few moments before finally looking up at me. Is something wrong?
She must have been quite important to you.
As I gave her a puzzled look, Nanai explained that she never really thought too deeply about individual hairstyles, nor did she associate them with specific people. I see.
Seems like you might, though.
The sound of clanging dishes dominated the room. Nanai hummed a song as she washed the dishes behind the counter. I asked if I could help and was refused. With nothing to do but listen to the monotone sounds in my seat, I felt drowsiness overcome me. I shifted my gaze to the pictures on the wall. One of them showed Nanai's aunt smiling under an oak tree. Another had a girl struggling with the bucket handle on the well. In the third, there was a group of men wearing work uniforms in front of a massive, modern-looking mansion. My eyes paused on that picture.
Group of men in work uniforms in front of a massive, modern-looking mansion. So it might have been remodeled at some point then. Trying to explain the small discrepancies.
The entrance to that mansion looked awfully familiar.
Oh, this?
Nanai, who seemed to have returned while I was busy inspecting the pictures, pointed at the one I'd been looking at.
That's an old photograph of this place,
she remarked as she sat down in her seat. I turned toward her. There was a streak of sunlight right where she sat down, making Nanai narrow her eyes.
The weather's quite nice today. Oh, that's right. Do decide to tell me if you take a nap. I will change the sheets in your room for you.
Thank you, but I'm not planning to, so feel free to change them whenever you want. There seem to be a lot of people in that picture. What's the story behind it? I returned my gaze to the photographs on the wall.
It's a group picture of all the employees from back when this place was opened. Apparently, the original plan was to take a picture of the mansion after they restored it, but photographs were rare in those times, so everyone came to see how it all worked, and they eventually ended up taking a group picture. This is me right here, by the way.
Nanai pointed at a beautiful woman in a kimono sitting on a stool. The baby in her arms was looking straight at us. Nanai sounded a laugh when I told her she looked cute.
Well, all children are, aren't they?
It's okay, I can still see the resemblance.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
She made a mischievous smile. I returned my eyes to the picture. That's your mother holding you, right?
Yes, we do look alike, don't we?
To tell the truth, the current Nanai looked more like that woman in the kimono than the baby in her arms.
All I'm saying.
Still, despite the resemblance in their features, there was a completely different air about
And
them.
there's someone else behind her as well there.
The kimono-clad woman had an expressionless face, reminding me more of a doll than a human being. It felt as though she was gazing into empty space rather than the camera. Everyone else in the picture was flashing broad smiles, making her somewhat gloomy demeanor stand out quite a bit.
What is that you're looking at?
Nanai's voice jerked me back to reality. Everyone looks pretty happy in this picture. Nanai directed her gaze to the photograph.
Yeah, I think the economy was on the rise back then, so that could be the reason. When you start thinking like that, is it a sign of age?
She made a bitter face. Oh, come on, you still look young.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
A smile returned to Nanai's face. The woman holding a baby in her arms looked at us through narrowed eyes. Everyone around her looked like they were having the time of their lives. Even without colors, I could tell the picture was taken on a sunny afternoon. They probably broke into lively chatter as soon as the photo session was over. It's a good picture. My eyes stopped on a woman wearing a cook's uniform. She looks like the person I saw in the library.
Yes, that's my auntie. She works here now. You've got quite the keen eye on you.
I could see the resemblance, though in this picture she was still a young woman.
Okay, so maybe I'm off base then.
She wore a light-colored apron with frills over a dark undershirt. Was she a cook?
Yes, she was a chef, in fact. And you already know how darn good she is. She spent a long time training overseas in her younger days. From Spain to Italy to China. Just give her the ingredients and she'll fix you anything. Yeah, take a look at these pictures.
Further down, there were a couple of pictures obviously taken overseas. An even younger version of Nanai's aunt was standing near a western-looking storefront. The place's metal signboards sported a relief in the shape of a fish, as well as the phrase "Lost Gassed" spelled out on it. The whole thing had a very restaurant-like feel to it. In another picture, she was eating something that looked like a kiwi in front of a pair of massive castle gates. That's impressive, but then why did she come back?
My mother recruited her when she founded this inn. They were childhood friends as far as I know.
I see.
Owning a mansion and running it as an inn was an old dream of theirs. My mother saved up the money while my auntie perfected her cooking skills. When I was little, she talked my ears off about how many challenges and hurdles she had to overcome.
They must have been good memories.
Yeah, I can tell. She always smiles when talking about the past, even though I've already heard her stories a million times over.
Nanai gazed into the distance, her mind seemingly returning to the past. Are there no pictures of you?
There should be one from when I was still a little kid.
Nanai looked around, searching for the picture in question.
Oh, here it is.
The picture showed a young Nanai with her hair cut short, standing atop the oversized root of some large tree. She was holding an insect net high above her head while carrying a basket filled with all the critters she'd caught. You seem to have grown up into quite an energetic child.
It's pretty embarrassing now that I look at it.
You like insects.
I might have in the past. I liked how drone beetles sparkled in the sun and found the wings of butterflies to be very pretty. I was reading Fabre's Souvenirs Entomologiques at the time and only added more fuel to the fire. To be honest, I liked all animals, from birds to fish. Well, you know how kids are. They tend to be fascinated by anything that moves.
I never liked insects much.
What did you play with when you were a child?
Dolls.
Alone?
At first, yeah.
Huh.
I might have ventured outside more had I been living at a nice place like this. The young Nana was surrounded by trees, bushes, and all sorts of other greenery, almost like she was in the middle of some uncharted, untamed forest. Near the ancient moss-covered trees, coiled roots thick enough to be mistaken for trees themselves, forming a natural maze worthy of exploring. Each layer of the mountainous terrain, resembling a naturally formed falling water house, was filled to the brim with crystal clear water.
Oh, that's right. There are hot springs near that place. Want to check them out one of these days?
Sounds like a good idea.
It's a promise, then.
Nana, leaning against the table with her elbow, stuck out her pinky toward me. That brings back memories. I lifted my hand from my knees, entwining my pinky with hers. If I break this promise, I will swallow 1,000 needles.
If I break this promise, I will swallow 1,000 needles. And our fingers are cut.
And our promise is sealed.
Huh?
Huh? At the same time, the clock from the lobby began chiming the hour. Oh, I didn't realize it was so late. Oh, did we swap?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't realize it was so late.
You have work to do?
Yes. Are you planning to be here for a while?
I don't really have any plans. I guess I'll stay here for now.
I see. Feel free to take anything that's behind the counter if you ever get thirsty.
Thanks. Good luck with your work. Nana gave me a small nod and left the room. A gust of wind found its way into the room, making Narasaki's hair flutter as she stared down at the chessboard. The afternoon sky was colored in a pale grayish hue. I could see dense clouds drifting our way from beyond the mountains.
It's gotten pretty cold out. Can I close the window?
Go ahead.
Just realized I gave them both very deep voices this time around.
Narasaki answered without looking away from the board, keeping her palm on her chin.
Oh, shit, that was...
The final breeze that snuck inside as I was closing the window made a high-pitched, flute-like sound, due to its passage of entry getting narrower, but ceased the moment I finished. I latched the window and returned to the table to meet Narasaki's gaze.
It is your turn.
She declared.
This loser not knowing how she's losing to me. Me over here eating each of the pieces.
I reached out to the queen and took her pawn without sitting down. The board let out a pleasant clang as I placed my piece on its surface. I sat down, crossed my legs, and once again picked up the book I'd been reading.
Imagine being so bored playing chess that you read a book between moves. What a power move.
The board and the pieces Narasaki brought with her were smaller than usual and were made of glass. The two opposing sides, rather than being black and white, were crafted from transparent and opaque glass. Narasaki's hand stopped midway to her knight. She then reached out toward one of her pawns, yet, once again, her hand stopped and returned to her chin instead. A black kite outside let out an ear-piercing cry. I think you could have done some serious damage with that first move.
Yes, but I don't think it would have been enough to break through your wall.
If you go this way, my lineup will get to the point faster. If you attack, though, you could take my rook at the front. I tilted my book slightly to see the board. Another cry of the kite reverberated across the mountain range outside. I glanced at the gray sky, but saw no birds from this angle. I wonder if it's going to rain today.
Maybe I should do this then. The radio said the latter half of today would be cloudy with weak rain.
Narasaki's knight moved forward, taking out my pawn.
Did you notice any changes in your mood after coming here?
Not really.
You're not feeling anxious or ill for no apparent reason?
I feel pretty calm. Are you asking me because it's going to rain?
It's not related to the weather, I just,
The battle on our board was proceeding just as we had foreseen. I heard the cry of a bird again, but this time it sounded closer. Raising my face, I saw a blue bird on the windowsill outside. You sure hear birds a lot in this place.
They seem to pass through this area often while migrating during the winter. The mountain here is full of evergreen trees, which must attract them.
Migratory birds. It's hard to believe something that small can actually cross the sea.
I've heard they can put half their brain to sleep as they close one of their eyes. It allows them to keep flying for long periods of time without rest.
Really? Narasaki moved one of her pieces and considered the bird beyond the window with curious eyes. The little thing let out a cry and jumped around on its thin legs a few times.
I don't know why every bird is a crow, but...
Hearing Narasaki move a piece again, I shifted my gaze back to the board. Although at the cost of a few pieces, she managed to prevent her king from being surrounded and was now gearing up for a new attack. I began reaching out toward one of the pieces I failed to evacuate in time, but stopped. I realized that if I took it, I'd be opening a way for Narasaki's queen to get inside the back of my formation. Narasaki raised one of her eyebrows in an obviously exaggerated way.
I think this is Sachiko talking at first.
You make it look like...
Oh, shit. Hold on. Who's controlling this game?
You make it look like you aren't thinking anything, but you're actually conniving and laying traps all over the board. That's so like you.
Not at all, just a coincidence, I'm sure.
I realized that Narasaki was gazing out the window, so we spent a short while watching the little bird together. Its round, almost ball-like frame made it obvious that the bird had not been lacking in nutrition as of late. It kept fluttering its wings with much vigor. It would let out a chirp or two once in a while.
Caw! Would you say that the bird is chirping or just crying?
I'd say somewhere in between. Narasaki tried imitating the bird's
Caw!
voice. I spent a few moments comparing her attempt to the actual bird.
Caw! By the way, how many days did you take off again?
About 10. I'm planning to spend a week or so here.
I see.
What about you?
It's about the same, I would say.
What a coincidence. Narasaki pulled out a schedule notebook from the pocket of the coat dangling on a nearby chair, and took a few seconds looking it over before answering me. I see you brought that with you.
Oh, this thing here?
Narasaki gestured toward me with notebook in hand. No, the one that's peeking out from your pocket. I pointed at another notebook in her coat. It was the same one she used to jot down things during my examinations.
Oh, I just thought it might come in handy, that's all.
It was my turn to make a move, but instead of touching my piece, I asked Narasaki what I couldn't yesterday. We have time today, so why don't you tell me about what's been bothering you about my condition? Narasaki shrugged her shoulders.
It's nothing overly serious, truly. I was just thinking about your symptoms a little bit.
Thinking? What do you mean?
Remember how I said they weren't interfering with your life?
Yes, I'm hallucinating without letting anyone else know.
That's right. I was just thinking about exactly what kind of hallucinations you were seeing. The Takako you see in your mind participates in conversations with people in your office and does her job without fail, is that correct? And it all felt natural to the extent that you didn't realize there was something off. I just got curious how it must look to you. It almost seems like another reality exists within you.
Another world? Narasaki paused to catch her breath after that long speech.
You know what? You're making me do a double take here. Like how much of Sachiko's perspective, if we are doubting her that heavily, we seem to be taking other things pretty well at face value, but I guess we got no reason to doubt other things just yet. Or rather, we are doubting them in specific ways. We are doubting them in very specific ways. Like, we'd be doubting that Narasaki looks as young as she does here, for one thing, right?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Well, I've no idea exactly what you're seeing, but I think we've had this discussion before. I'm more interested in how you process the conversations between Takako and your other colleagues. Understanding that might help shed more light on your exact position.
My position?
Yes, that's right. For example,
Narasaki placed her schedule notebook on the chessboard and began drawing some sort of graph. She pointed at the circle around the words "not real" and said that it existed only inside my head.
This is the world where you thought that Takako was still around, and reality is the world where you have remembered that she is not.
I made a slight nod as I looked at the graph. Narasaki's pen pointed at the "not real" bit again.
You lived in this one for at least 2 years, and in order to avoid contradictions, you've changed the dates of your trip, as well as that of Takako's disappearance. And your current position is probably somewhere around here.
Narasaki pointed at the tunnel-like sign between the two bubbles. The side closer to reality, to be precise.
You fixed your memories and are on your way to return here, but you haven't done so completely, not yet. You still keep seeing little snippets of your surreal world when something triggers it. That is how I interpret your condition, at least.
And those triggers are things that remind me of Takako, correct?
I would say so. The best way to get over this is to spend enough time in an alien land until you're completely back to reality.
Medically recommended alien abduction.
I know a couple of good greys who'd be willing to help out.
I realized I could no longer hear the chirping of the little bird. I glanced at the window. The bird had already flown away. Narasaki was watching the empty window, too.
By the way, did you plan anything specific for this trip?
Not really.
That's good. With no plans, you can relax without thinking too much. Of course, you can always use your brain when you feel like it. Watching from a distance can help you notice new things in your life.
At this time of the day, I would usually be in my office, working. I blinked and considered the chess pieces on the table, but now I was playing a game with Narasaki in a place I'd never been before. She was certainly right. I felt more relaxed here compared to when I'd visit her at the clinic during work. I had a pretty rigid schedule near the end of the year. We received tons of orders last year, so the office was basically on fire during those final days. Now that I thought about it, I might have taken on too many jobs because I calculated Takako as being part of the workforce. I wondered if I'd unknowingly done something bad to my two colleagues. On top of it, since I realized I was seeing things that couldn't have been real, I ended up skipping work and going to Narasaki's clinic instead. It was only then that I started realizing I'd actually been hallucinating for years. That said, I managed to both finish all my duties by the end of the year and fix up some of my broken memories at Narasaki's clinic. In my mind's eye, it felt like it all happened in seconds. I stifled a sigh, to which Narasaki reacted with a small nod. Honestly, it was pretty incredible how I kept that charade up for over 2 years without anyone putting me into a hospital. Incredibly incredible, even.
Yeah, completely without credibility.
With that mystery cleared up,
Thanks!
I shifted my thoughts to what I was supposed to do now.
Thanks for assuring us that mystery was cleared up.
So you're saying the symptoms will eventually go away on their own?
That is what I believe, at any rate.
And you also believe I had a specific reason and some sort of goal in mind for conjuring up an alternate reality in my head. Is that correct?
Well, that about sums it up, yes.
The corners of Narasaki's lips curled up.
I see your mind is back to being in full throttle.
Thank you.
That said, you should leave the complicated stuff to me and instead focus on relaxing. Treating you is my job. And if I find something new, I'll inform you right away. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Anyway, I'll avoid speaking about this unless something new comes up. Meanwhile, you should concentrate on enjoying your vacation.
As you say, Doctor. Narasaki chuckled.
It's the first time you've called me that, you know?
Do you like it, Doctor? Narasaki crossed her legs again and said it wasn't too bad. After that, we resumed our game and continued playing until we got bored. Saying she wanted to look around the area, Narasaki got up and left my room.
Excuse me. I call this one the bong cloud open.
As I looked up at the Oculus window in the set, that took my brain a while to process.
You want to step off? You want to step off, buddy? Yeah, okay. We're getting Narasaki now. All right. This is great. This is good shit right here. This is good. This is good stuff. Normal. Normal.
Okay.
Okay. All right. As I looked up at the Oculus window in the center of the library, the winter sky beyond it was completely dark, despite it still being evening. The lights on the library walls lit up, banishing the shadows to a small area in the middle of the room and the corners of the ceiling. Everything around me was now illuminated in warm color. A young girl sat at the desk located deeper into the room reading a book. Holding a sizable book with both hands on its sides, the girl had placed it vertically on the desk before her, essentially preventing me from seeing her face. I continued walking by the bookshelves, my heels clicking against the wooden floor. The book had the girl's complete and undivided attention, even when I approached her. Hello. Hello there, child of man. Her small shoulders jerked up a bit as I addressed her from behind. She turned her head around, her pale eyes glaring at me from below. Won't your parents be worried if you stay out this late? She regarded me with indignant eyes. I could see the light of distrust in her eyes, much too intense for her age. However, that light soon vanished, and she returned her gaze to the book. Well, now. The girl's desk was littered with various other books and notebooks. The girl closed the book and reached out toward the other end of the table, her ponytail dancing in the air behind her. Pulling up one of the notebooks to herself, she opened it and began scribbling something diagonally, completely ignoring the ruled lines. I glanced at the other nearby notebook that was open and saw the bird's-eyed schematic of some building. May I take a look? I like this one. I like this one. The girl, still in the middle of writing, gave me a cursory glance and responded with a brief nod. I picked up one of the notebooks and began flipping through its pages. They were the plans of the inn next door, with each page detailing not only its general measurements, but the furniture and various other little things as well. I can see that you've spent a decent amount of time on this. Upon closer inspection, I realized the other books on the desk were all related to the history of the mansion. There were a number of old informational pamphlets and newspaper clippings scattered around as well. Are you doing this for a school project or something? I don't think I've ever seen anyone go this far for a simple homework assignment, though.
It's just my hobby.
Oh, that is one peculiar hobby in this day and age. In lieu of a reply, I heard only the shuffling of paper and the sounds of scribbling. Looking up at the ceiling, I spotted a star beyond the oculus window. I realized the scribbling had stopped. Do you live close by?
Who are you? Why do you keep talking to me?
Irritated, the girl closed the scrapbook she'd been looking at and reached out to one of the pamphlets. Oh, me? I'm nobody special. But it's only natural for adults to be worried about children, don't you think?
Is that so?
She kept turning the pages, but her pen remained still. I turned the page of the notebook I myself was holding. Oh, I think the layout of that room there has changed a bit. I placed the notebook on the desk and pointed at the guest room on the second floor.
How do you know?
That's the room I'm staying in currently. The girl gave me a suspicious look over her shoulder. The light from the lamps inside intensified as it began to grow even darker outside, illuminating her face. Her somewhat big slanted eyes sparkled back in the artificial light, revealing more about her thoughts than her soft-spoken demeanor. Her nose looked a bit too refined for someone of Asian descent. Her lips, pink like flower petals, formed a line in gesture of rejection. She sat with her back straight against the backrest of a chair that was slightly too big for her. There was a certain sense of sophistication to the way that she moved. The girl looked me up and down, her deep eyes eventually settling on my face. The sun is already down. Have you contacted your family about being late?
Is that all you came here for?
The girl said, narrowing her eyes. Her gesture resembled my friend's. I'm looking for a lost item. Have you seen a silver bookmark anywhere? It has a clover-shaped cutout at the top. All right. All right. A silver bookmark with a clover on it. I mean, also in relation to this game, but also in relation to the...
Oh, yeah, wow. Wow.
Remember what each of the four clovers mean on it? I don't remember what they are.
Fuck, I don't remember.
Yeah, shit. I don't remember what they are. Someone can remind us.
Yeah.
The girl turned a few pages of her scrapbook and handed me the bookmark that was there.
I found it on the desk closest to the window. I thought it could come in handy, so I put it in my book.
Thank you. My friend accidentally left it there, you see. Being made of metal, the bookmark had some weight to it. The borders were decorated with an ivy pattern, while the top part sported a carving of a four-leaf clover. The orange light of the room was reflected in its surface as I tilted it. By the way, about your research, have you already talked to the person who's usually at the counter here during the day? The girl picked up another pamphlet and began reading it. She is the caretaker of the inn that you're investigating. She's been working here for quite a long time. I imagine she could tell you a lot of things that you wouldn't find written down.
Okay, so that is the aunt.
Yep, you're right. The girl remained silent and turned back to her scrapbook. I could ask her if you like.
In exchange for going home for today?
I like that idea, don't you? The girl closed her notebook.
I'll be going then.
What the hell is this kid?
Yeah.
This
is like the one bit that I don't feel I have any way to put together. It seems like this kid is important enough to have a portrait and be encountered by multiple people and have speaking lines, and I don't have any context for why that would be the case.
Yeah, I've got no idea who she is at all. Because the first thing that popped to my head, like, if our idea that there's a gigantic, like, not a gigantic, but like this takes further place in the future that we thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
She might be the child of someone we know. But that doesn't quite check out, right? Because Sachiko and Takako can't have kids, probably.
Well,
As far as I know. So, I don't know what her deal is. Good morning, Sachiko. The weather sure is nice today, isn't it? Why don't we do it here and now, seeing how it's so warm?
I pressed my fingers against my temples. They still ached from all that alcohol. I was still sitting on the bed in my pajamas when Narasaki entered the room and passed by me. She parted the curtains, making the light reach the tip of my toes. I glanced at the window and saw her moving the table with the chessboard on it to a spot with better sunlight. After that, she pulled up a chair and sat down in front of the table.
You promised to help me kill time until Miss Nadai's aunt drops by the library.
I did? I don't remember.
Well, I do.
Where does all your energy come from?
Well, then, let's see. Do you remember where we left off?
Not really. Was I supposed to write it down?
I was just checking.
I'll go get changed. After pushing aside the sheet covering my legs, I climbed out of bed. From behind, I heard the glassy sound of the chess pieces being moved. I remembered how Narasaki sacrificed her knight to open an attack on my left side at the beginning of the match. We returned to a stalemate as soon as I fended it off, though.
I see that you've finally woken up. You were trying to cross the... do it. I can't do it!
Did you come to my room this early on purpose? The corners of Narasaki's lips curled upward.
It was worth a try.
I suppose.
Anyway, I never would have guessed that you were so good at chess.
I'm not that good.
You seem quite used to the game, though.
Takako was really obsessed with it at one point. She pretty much forced me to play with her all the time.
Pong cloud. It wasn't what I thought it was when I got into it, but then I was hooked. Sunk cost fallacy, you understand.
Wait, what's the other meme chess maneuver? The
Just wait till I pull out the Tennyson Gambit.
Was she better than you?
At first I kept losing, but I'd say we were about equal by the time we quit.
Oh, and why did you quit?
Takako got bored of it.
I see.
Narasaki smiled.
Did you see her narrow her eyes there for a moment?
Mm-hmm.
If you two were about equal, that means winning this would make me the best now, wouldn't it?
I wonder about that.
Oh? And what do you mean?
Narasaki asked as she continued to move her pieces. Was Narasaki plotting to distract me from the game with small talk, or was there another, healthier reason for her sudden curiosity? I kept playing against the same opponent all the time. I knew her strong points and most of her usual tactics. I could easily predict how the first halves of our matches would usually go. But with a new opponent, I have to keep observing every move and prepare myself for the unexpected.
Ah,
Narasaki released her chin and moved her piece with a thoughtful...
I see.
As I couldn't see her face, I wasn't completely sure what I see meant. I frowned and moved my own piece. Narasaki did the same. Then it was my turn again. The way things looked, we were nearing the end game.
By the way, I met a little girl when I went to look for your bookmark in the library.
One with curly hair.
Exactly. Do you realize how much she resembles you when you were younger?
She does?
She does? She does?
Ha!
Okay. Or in like how she's bookish and quiet and
That could be.
yeah.
Narasaki placed a hand on her chin, falling deep in thought. What part of us is similar?
You're both very short and with blue hair and pronouns probably. It's the way that you look at people.
She glanced up at me for a short moment and uttered,
Yeah, you two really do look alike.
as if to reaffirm her own statement. As our game neared its end, Narasaki began singing a song from an old movie, Daisy Bell. I tilted my book and gave her a hard look.
Are you giving up? Oh no, that was
Are you giving up?
Not even close.
The pieces kept moving on the board with short clangs. Suddenly, an irritating knock on the door threw my mind into a jumble. It's open. Oh.
It's open.
Nagasaki responded. I checked my wristwatch, but there was still some time until noon. The door slowly opened, revealing a doll-like girl. She wore a gray blouse and a long blue skirt. Its hem lingered maybe only 10 or so centimeters above the ground. It was the same girl I met at the library. The girl didn't move any further from the door and instead looked around with suspicious eyes. She looked at me, then at Nagasaki, then at the chessboard between us. Do you remember your promise? Asked the girl, as she looked at the notebook in her hands. Nagasaki answered that she did. There's something I have to ask the person who stays here. You told me I'll be able to speak with her. Nagasaki leaned closer to my ear. The girl looked at us with knitted brows.
We were planning to meet with Miss Not-Eye's aunt in the afternoon, is that correct? I'd like this girl to come with us if possible.
The girl's eyes were transfixed on the silver bookmark on my desk, but she looked away as soon as she realized I followed her gaze, and instead glared back at me. I don't mind,
Thank you.
said Nagasaki in a small voice.
I'm incapable of speaking in a small voice.
My voice.
Have you heard how fucking sonorous my voice is?
She speaks like her font size was turned up 4 pixels.
I speak like I'm talking in small caps at all times. It's quite a mansion, is it not?
Nagasaki looked over her shoulder. The girl was following us, keeping a moderate distance. Well, that should be a given. The place used to be the residence of an influential family until it was sold off and remodeled following the war.
Shit, what is it with big family mansions, huh?
Yep. Even among classic hotels, you'd be hard-pressed to find a place that preserved its historical authenticity to this extent.
So you mean that it was something that would look very much the same, even if it was farther in the future than we were to expect? Got it.
This is interesting. Total sidebar, unrelated and unimportant in any way, but a hotel otaku. That's not a thing I had thought
Otaku.
about. Yeah, that's not a thing I had thought about having a fandom. But I guess it
Not
must.
just but like, or historic buildings in general.
Yeah, it might be that.
Yeah. I see.
Nagasaki remarked. I heard the girl mumble, "And I see you know nothing," in a low voice. As Nagasaki made an awkward smile, a voice called out to me from the window. I looked outside and saw Nanai in a straw hat, leaning her back against a cart. It was filled with little shovels, scissors, and other such equipment.
Good morning, Sachiko. Weather's looking pretty good today, eh?
She tilted her hat and looked at me. I don't know why, but I find the hat sprite really funny, and I want to Photoshop her to have different, more comical hats.
You should absolutely do that. You should
Maybe even just make the hat bigger.
You should. That would be good. Oh shit. Shit.
Oh, Kozue's with you. I didn't realize that you knew each other.
Nanai waved at the girl next to me. She returned her energetic greeting with a blank stare. What are you doing?
I'm just playing with dirt, that's all. I'm going to get some vegetables from the fields.
She patted the bag of dirt on the cart.
Are you all right with yam?
Oh, it's one of my favorites. The forecast said it's going to rain in the evening, though.
I know. But I'm not too worried about that. The weather in the mountains is usually all over the place anyway. So what are you up to today, Sachiko?
We were on our way to greet your aunt.
Oh, I see. I just passed her in the lobby, so she's probably already waiting for you.
I see, thanks. We'll be on our way then.
Kozue's going with you as well.
Yes.
It's quite the peculiar group you have there. Now I'm almost curious about what you're planning to discuss. Anyway, don't worry too much about my auntie. The more people there are to talk to, the happier she gets. I'm glad to hear that,
said Narasaki.
Is there a clear difference between their voices? I feel like, okay. I'm just hoping that comes clear. Because I'm also making sure to project more with Narasaki and make it a bit fuller and rounder.
After reaching the lobby, we took the left corridor and, after just a few steps, found a staircase leading underground to our right. We descended in an orderly line. Narasaki, who was at the front, stopped at the bottom step and opened another set of doors. The sweet scent of sugar lingered in the air around us. I looked back and saw Kozue grimacing. After walking through a narrow underground corridor for a while, we reached the entrance to a wide room. We stepped over the stone tile that separated the two areas. There was a round table and 3 chairs in the center of the room, as well as Nanai's aunt in an apron. She was setting plates on the table. Which one of us is going to be...
I can do Nanai's aunt. Sure. What is your voice going to be? What is her voice? Oh, you're already here. Hello,
said Narasaki as I bowed my head. Nanai's aunt said her greetings, then considered us one by one.
Forgive me, but I'm still in the middle of preparations. Could you wait for me at the table, please? I'll be back in just a second.
She then disappeared into another room with a tray in hand. Before she closed the door, though, I caught a glimpse of an old stove. Doing as I'd been told, I pulled back one of the nearby chairs and sat down. Kozue did the same. Narasaki walked over to the sofa closer to the window and, after brushing off some of the accumulated dust, collapsed on it with a sigh. The walls of the underground room were made of stone, with a couple of wooden windows at the top. Through said windows, I could see the tree in the yard. I realized that the stairs next to Narasaki's sofa led straight to it. Kozue, sitting in front of me, glanced around the room with an empty expression.
Sorry to have kept you waiting.
I turned around and noticed that Nanai's aunt had returned from the other room. She came closer to us, wiping her wet hands on her apron. Oh, it's not a problem at all. I'm sorry for bothering you at such a busy time. I tried standing up, but Nanai's aunt gestured to me for me to remain seated.
Oh, I'm not busy at all. And even if I was, I'd prioritize a good conversation over anything else. The older a person gets, the gloomier their conversations become, so... You see, I'm grateful for any chance that lets me spend some time with you youngsters.
Okay. That would put a dent in our leading theory at the moment. Okay.
I suppose so. She walked to the table and sat down in the one chair that still remained open.
It's nice to meet you all. My name is Ake Lily. Just call me Lily, all right?
Are you a foreigner? Asked Kozue.
No, but I've spent a long time there.
That's weird, said Kozue in a small voice. She chose not to pry further.
You know what? I would have had the perfect voice for the small, annoying kid with blue hair in this game, but we already gave it a similar one to Takako, so I just realized that.
Oh, is it? But I like my name, though.
Lily made a sour face, pretending to be hurt. She turned to me, noticing that I'd been looking for a chance to introduce myself as well.
You're Sachiko, right? I've heard all about you from Nanai. She kept talking about what a beauty you were after she came back from Rome. It made her so excited when she learned you'd be dropping by for a visit.
Huh?
Narasaki let out a suggestive mumble.
She might look all grown up, but she's still a child inside. She's not causing you any trouble, is she?
Not at all. If anything, I'm the one causing her trouble, and she's the one looking after me.
This entire conversation is making it rougher and rougher for our...
Yeah, every time we have a strong theory, it feels like the game has anticipated it and throws in a bunch of small details that are hard to explain with that theory.
There is one other possibility that might make our theory still work, though. Is if her aunt here is also someone who's staying here.
I think she makes an excellent landlady,
You said it.
Narasaki added.
Maybe we were way off base. Well, let's keep seeing how this develops.
I'm glad to hear that. Oh, and I've seen you at the library as well. Your name was,
Lily gave Kozue a gentle smile. Kozue returned a blank stare.
Did you forget what you came here for?
Asked Narasaki. It's Kozue. Kozue looked at me and Narasaki, then finally introduced herself.
Oh, that's right, it was Kozue. Now I remember. I'm Lily, the caretaker of this inn. It's nice to meet you.
Lily placed her palm on the girl's small head, making Kozue's young face contort into a sour expression. Is the kitchen next door? I can smell something tasty from that direction. Oh, is the kitchen next door? I can smell something tasty from that direction. Lily then turned to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, whoops.
After learning that I'd be having guests, I decided to put my old baking skills to use, you see. But things are just not working out. I prepared things in advance so it would only take a minute or two to serve you, but I must have lost my touch over the years. But don't you worry, I'm sure the taste is just fine. Do you happen to like sweet things?
Yes. I looked toward the sofa. Lily shifted her gaze to Narasaki as well.
I prefer them to spicy food. They'd be perfect with some tea, I'm sure. They certainly are.
Lily made a smile before turning to Kozue.
And what about you?
I don't know. Kozue made a troubled face. My favorite
is a foreign type of pastry, and I'm sure that you'll like it too.
Lily glanced at the clock on the wall.
They should be finished by the time this old clock here strikes 2. Just hold on for a little bit while longer, okay?
Is it going to be Spanish pastries?
Yeah, that's right. How did you know?
I saw a picture of you in a this is probably Sachiko talking again.
Yep.
I saw a picture of you in a Spanish bakery over at the cafeteria.
Oh, I see. That certainly brings back memories, doesn't it? I worked at that place for 2 years. That bakery was run by a married couple. They would look after me like their own daughter. I mustered the courage to go overseas, but finding proper work wasn't all that easy. I had a work visa, but I couldn't speak the language, and just when my savings were about to run dry, I chanced upon that bakery. The husband spoke English, so we could communicate. I explained to him that I came to Spain to learn about cooking, but I had no connections over here, nor any money left over, so he offered to let me live and work at his place.
You went all the way overseas to study the culinary arts?
Yes, I wanted to learn more about the national cuisines of a number of different countries. After Spain, I also visited France and Germany, but I was always planning to return to Japan eventually to work at this inn.
You weren't thinking about staying overseas?
I made a promise with Nana's mother that we'd build and run an inn together.
Nana's mother?
That's right. I think it was during one of our high school trips, but we got completely spellbound by this one inn we stayed at in Kyoto. I still remember it like it was yesterday. The look of the place, the amiable staff, the wonderful food. Everything was just so great it felt almost like I barged into heaven just a tad too early.
Narasaki made a broad smile.
I think I know that feel. However, as far as I remember, the inns in Kyoto are mostly traditional Japanese-style buildings made out of wood. That detail had never had any influence on you two. What charmed us was the otherworldly atmosphere inside. It felt as though we'd traveled through time. We had all the choices in the world, so we decided to model our place according to what we liked the most. Nana inherited Miki's love for Western antiques, and I was also quite into fables and old Western houses at the time. We also liked how the cafeteria and the library were designed. But above all else, we were lucky that this mansion belonged to Miki's family to begin with. Miki.
That's a new name.
That's a new name, okay. She inherited it after the passing of her grandmother and when we remodeled it according to our tastes.
Kozue, who was absent-mindedly looking around the room with a bored expression, was activated by the discussion of remodeling historical buildings. Suddenly raised her head.
By the way, Kozue. Oh, that rhymed. Didn't you come here to ask her about the mansion?
Said Narasaki. Is it true that this place was a hospital before you took over? Lily turned to Kozue.
I thought that everyone had forgotten that rumor by now. In a way, you're right. This place was used as a sanatorium before the war, but it still belonged to the Fujisaka family. Its master at the time was a doctor and simply felt like he should lend some of his rooms to some of the long-term patients. Heard there were times when over 10 patients lived alongside him in the mansion.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Before the war?
Before the war, huh? So, yeah, no, that doesn't fit with any of our timelines at all.
I just keep getting knuckleballed here.
Man, I really just want to dismiss her as not a reputable source. Right? Huh. Let's see what Kozue has.
Lily non-credible, Wikipedia article deleted.
That could still be well true, but she's also just trying to downplay. Used as a sanatorium before the war.
Kozue listened to Lily's story in complete silence.
Yeah, that's...
I heard the grandfather clock in the lobby chime the hour.
Ah!
that expression looks way more intense than I think that
Lily has been activated. Time for pastries.
I think the pastry should be ready by now. Let's continue this conversation over some snacks and a cup of tea.
That's the face
Snacks!
That's the face I make when I discover it's time for tea and snacks.
Snacks!
This is dumb as hell, but frequently, at least once every couple weeks, I think about this one time in college where my residential group took a trip to a bed and breakfast around here for low tea, and to have a whole tea ceremony thing.
Yeah.
And pretends to be fancy and have manners and shit. And it's just like, I want the fancy porcelain tea set and the little finger-sized sandwiches and the fancy table. I want them. I want them.
Maybe in the future.
Okay. We're gonna have a tea room.
Okay.
We're gonna have a whole room for tea.
We can dream about all the rooms we'll have in the house we'll never own. You can have as many here. You know what? And you can have as many rooms as you want in that house.
Aww. Yeah. Kozue gave the clock on the wall a quick glance. Lily stood up.
That's
I'll help.
Kozue, yeah.
Oh, I'll help.
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's Sachiko.
I had it right originally. Whatever.
Yeah, you did. Sorry, Kozue opened her mouth, so...
I stood up myself and followed Lily into the kitchen. Still seated, Kozue picked up her carrier bag from the ground, placed it on her knees, and pulled out a folder packed with documents. She then opened it up and put it on the table. Her bag seemed to be made of cloth and had an engraving of a lily on it.
Sus.
Later that afternoon, the conversation shifted completely to Kozue and Lily when they began discussing the mansion. Lily brought out an old schematic and spread it out across the table. Kozue kept pointing at the various parts that piqued her curiosity. Why is this well in such an inconvenient location?
There used to be a rear exit there in the western wing. However, it got blocked as we expanded the cafeteria, so no one was using the well by that time, though.
Next, she pointed at the roof. Where does this chimney connect to?
You noticed just the most interesting of things.
Her face is kind of scary.
You know what? She's got the fucking yandere eyes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
which I don't think it was intended to be like
Not
that.
at all.
I genuinely
Not at
don't
all.
think that was intended that way.
Absolutely not, but it still jump scares me a little, and I'm
Yeah.
here for that.
It's connected to the stove of this room. You saw the spiral staircase in the lobby, right? That'll lead you right to the roof. The chimney was originally used for baths.
Her hand paused for a second before traveling to a polvoron on a white porcelain plate resting on the table. She picked it up and put it into her tiny mouth. Polvorons looked like rectangular cookies at a glance, but their texture was similar to an Okinawan chinsuko. They also carried the scent of cinnamon. They would almost literally melt in the mouth. Well, save for the hard almonds that would crack between your teeth. The cinnamon and the almonds created a very balanced mixture of scents and flavors. Honestly, I had never eaten anything like this before. Lily told us that polvorons originated from Andalusia in Spain. Kozue licked the snow powder off her fingers and, after taking a sip of her black tea, placed the cup on its saucer with a light clang. She then glanced at the clock on the wall. Thank you. This was very educational.
You are quite welcome.
Is it okay if I come talk to you again?
Feel free to visit whenever you like. My doors are always open to such cute guests.
Kozue answered Lily's words with a blank stare.
You'd be even cuter if you smiled a bit more, you know.
Kozue paused for a few seconds, seemingly analyzing the idea, then stuffed all her things in her bag and left the room.
You can come by any time now.
Kozue, without turning back, climbed the stairs and disappeared from sight.
I will go see the princess off.
Narasaki rose to her feet. Lily and I saw the two off.
I wonder if she's planning to be an architect or a designer in the future. It's pretty inspiring to see someone so young start from such an early age.
I agree.
She's quick on the uptake and clearly motivated. If only she acted a little bit friendlier, she'd be a favorite among her teachers. I'm just trying to make a 1-to-1 scale in Minecraft.
Actually, now that I've said that out loud, that is something I would have done.
Yeah. Lily paused there. It seemed as though she was just about to reveal the reason behind Kozue's behavior. Like Narasaki said before, everyone had their own individual circumstances. Maybe she likes you but isn't good at showing it. Wait. Oh, I'm probably still talking. I feel like you could have given her some even better advice, though. Lily kept her fingers on her teacup's handle without actually lifting
The cup itself.
the cup itself.
Nana told me you were running a design office in the city.
I am.
What kind of job is it exactly?
I got that question a lot. We meet our clients' demands, whatever they may be.
Do you make advertisements for magazines and TV stations?
If the project calls for it.
I believe it's an expanding business. Radios, newspapers, television, almost everyone uses them these days. Your workload must be increasing by the day, or am I wrong?
You're right that we get more offers nowadays. However, most of the big companies already have their established ties with old advertising agencies. So, a relatively new place like ours tends to get only local, small-scale projects.
Oh, so it's an old business, actually.
Advertising has been around for over 100 years.
I see.
Are you interested in advertising? Lily waved her hand in front of her face.
Oh no, the topic simply came up when I chatted with someone in the town the other day. Living up here in the mountains in the middle of nowhere leaves me with plenty of time to think and ponder, you see.
I see. Lily smiled, and I couldn't help smiling in return. I heard the grandfather clock chime for the nth time. I think I should be going.
Oh, I didn't realize it had gotten so late. Give me just a second, all right?
Lily promptly vanished into the kitchen and returned with a basket full of pastries, neatly lined on a piece of kitchen paper sporting a flower design.
Take this with you.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure to use them as a midnight snack.
You can hand the basket to Nana when she comes to your room.
Thank you. Both the tea and your pastries were delicious.
It's been so long since I had the chance to chat with a fresh face. I'd be happy to talk some other time, so don't be shy. Fresh face.
All right. I gave her a small bow and headed toward the exit.
I'm not unconvinced that she also isn't in here for a similar reason.
Yeah.
Miss Sachiko?
Yes?
I think Nanai likes you very much. She's been working at this inn since she was a child, and with her hobbies being antiques and working in the fields, she's never had any friends her age. Would you mind becoming her first?
I'm also having fun spending time with her.
I see. I suppose that was an empty concern on my part.
Lily gave me the warmest smile I'd seen from her today.
Oh, that's right.
She stopped me again.
I forgot about it earlier, but I know the architect who was responsible for modeling this place. I think Kozui might be interested in meeting him as well. Could you tell her for me when you see her around?
Of course.
All right, well then I'll see you.
I made another bow as Lily waved me goodbye.
Sorry for holding you up so many times. I'm done now, I promise.
Goodbye. What
What
the hell is going on here?
Yeah. No, I still think that we're on the right track.
And
And it makes more sense if she's also someone else who is staying here.
Okay.
Yeah. But we could be getting too attached to a theory that's wildly off here.
Yeah, I feel like we are getting. I feel like the secrets are being held close to the chest if there are some, and there's got to be some, right?
Yeah. Then again, we're still only in chapter 2?
Yeah.
So I think we've got time to go here. So we'll see where things develop. We'll see you all next time.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.